Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. We're here at the press launch for the space, which is Surgeons Hall. We've just received our VIP passes with a lot of bump, and we're going into, we think, a show. We'll find out shortly. Won't be able to film in there, but we'll do what we can and we'll tell you what it's all about afterwards. Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Ian J. Cole.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, Jane.
With glasses on.
Jane with glasses on. And if you've not been here before, this channel is all about music and art, and we are currently vlogging several times a day from the Edinburgh Festival Fringe. We're on day 5, and we're now down to the last show for today, which actually wasn't a single show, but we were invited by the Space venue to their what do they call it?
Was a press launch.
Press launch, that's the word I was looking for. I couldn't think about it. So, and we've never been to one of these things before, and although I was invited to it last year, we never got there. We went to something else instead. Anyway, we decided to go this year. When we arrived at this thing, it was packed with people. Not only the press were there, but there was people going to see shows as well. So the venue was very, very busy, and it wasn't that clear, was it? What was actually happening? Did you say? I mean, we signed in, and then we went off to the press office, and we were given we've each got a space VIP pass. Now, I don't know what it allows us into a bar, I know that for sure, and we need to try the bar at some point, don't we? So we both got one of them, which is great. I think we get slightly cheaper drinks as well, if I'm not mistaken. There was something, we had an email, but we kind of read it. Anyway, what this press launch was about, they'd handpicked a number of their acts to do a 2 or 3 minute preview of each of the shows, and we're just going to go through and talk about a little bit about the shows and what we thought of them. Okay, now these are not the caveat is that these are not full reviews. We are only basing this on the little bit that we saw. Okay, the first guy, actually I thought the first guy was the press officer, because as we walked into the venue, into the auditorium, which was called the Grand Hall, and wasn't very grand, was it?
No.
It was just a room, really, with a load of chairs around. So not a grand hall. Anyway, that's a different thing. This chap was shaking everybody's hands and saying welcome, and then we realised that he was the first act up, and it was a chap called Matthew Roberts, who is doing a show called Teach. And I'm just looking at as to exactly what it says about his show. It doesn't say anything about what is this year's show. Anyway, the fundamentally what he did say in his 2 or 3 minutes was that if you go to his show, you get, he's a teacher, and it's obviously about education and whether he should stay in teaching, and you get to vote throughout the show several times as to whether he should stay in teaching or not, which is quite an interesting idea, I thought. Mm-hmm. Anyway. That show is on at Surgeons Hall, which is the Space UK venue, at 4:05 every day. We were then introduced to the host for the evening, who was a chap called John Rowe. And what did you think of? I mean, he didn't do a set as such; he was just the host, but he is doing a show. What was your thoughts about?
Well, he was an effective link between each of the shows. But he did get us to.
Oh yeah, he was doing. We had a lot of woo and hooray and all of that sort of it, which
should react.
Yeah, should react. And I'm sorry that I mean I didn't comply. I mean,
no.
And that's, to be fair, that sort of stuff sort of irritates me a bit. I mean, he's an Australian, and we love Australians because we had Australian Day and some of the other blogs, you know, where every show we went to see was by an Australian. His style didn't really suit me, if I'm honest. I don't think I wouldn't necessarily want to see a show. But other people, you know, other opinions are available.
Very personable chap.
Yeah, he was a nice enough guy. His show is on at Symposium at late show, 11:15 every night throughout the Fringe. We then had a chap called Peter Hudler who played his cello, and the show is called Cello on Fire. I mean, what did you think of that? I mean,
well, I thought that was a really difficult thing
to do. Anyway, yeah.
I thought he was obviously a virtuoso on the cello, and what he played in the sort of, I don't know that it was even 5 minutes that he had.
No, he didn't. I think he had about no more than 3 minutes for sure.
He played. I mean, you know, I'm not a cello expert, but I have heard the cello played quite a lot. He managed to combine some fantastically modern sounds on it, you know, and then sort of intersperse that with things that seem to be of a more sort of classical bend, a bit slower, but he really showed what the cello could do. Yeah, I mean, and I thought he did a fantastic job, actually.
Yeah, his press release bit here says, a burning mix of styles from the Baroque to rock, folk to jazz, a virtuoso, passionate, poetic and colourful musical journey. You can't miss it. I mean, I have to say, there was one bit that he did which I thought was stunning, which was he was sort of, he turned the cello into a very percussive instrument. Well, we've seen it with guitars a lot, but he was sort of playing it and tapping it at the same time, which I thought was brilliant. The first, I mean, and this is not really a criticism because the poor guy had less than 3 minutes to show us everything. The first minute, though, was a bit like shredding on a violin for me. And when I mean shredding, what I mean is that the sort of things where you play really, really fast, intricate stuff, but actually it means nothing. But that was just a personal opinion. I thought once we got past the shredding bit, I thought he was great. But that, you know, so when you see these guitarists playing millions of notes really, really quickly, he was sort of doing that, I suspect, to show his virtuosity, and he clearly is a virtuoso. But I was much more interested in the other stuff with the tapping and the classical bits that he played in the other couple of minutes for me, you know.
I mean, what the actual composition of the show is, we don't know. But I mean, you know, I would think that it's very varied.
Yes, I agree.
And probably worth going to see.
Yeah. So, and if you're into cellos, and especially cellos that are on fire, he may actually put it on fire. I doubt it. Anyway, it's on every night at XXX, which is a part of the Space UK conglomerate. I don't quite know where XXX is. Anyway, it's at 6:15 every evening. Okay. Next up, we had a tribute to Alanis Morissette's Jagged Little Pill. Now, this had a bit of a problem, really, because I really felt for these guys. They normally have a bigger band, I think our Compere said, didn't they? But it was two guitarists and the girl being Alanis Morissette. I haven't got their names, and it doesn't say here who they actually are. Now, Jagged Little Pill is an album that I really like, and I am interested in this, but they were done a disservice by the sound technicians, because first, none of the guitars were just acoustic. All were plugged in, and the microphone wasn't working. Now, it wasn't a huge room, so she was able to sing acoustically, and I don't think it affected the performance, but it clearly could have thrown somebody. And I know that one of the guitarists, I saw him get a plectrum out so he could play a bit louder, and they covered it really, really well. But so I really felt for them, and to be fair, I know it's very difficult in this situation where everybody's got 2 or 3 minutes and you've got lots of changeover, but the sound guys should have got their act together for me.
I mean, I didn't notice a lot of that going on. I mean, I was aware that maybe the impact wasn't there, but I hadn't quite realised that, you know, the mics weren't working. So it was difficult to sort of judge it on that. But the fact is that obviously, if you're interested in Alanis Morissette and
Jagged Little Pill,
you know, I mean, I would imagine judging, you know, it would be good.
And I did make a massive faux pas after the actual event, because there was a drinks meet and greet where basically what they're trying to do, the acts come in and all their acts, they've got 400 shows on at the Space UK. And they come in and they try and sell to people who've got these things on to get you to come and review their show. And as a guy walked in with a guitar, and I swore he was the guitarist from the tribute to Alanis Morissette. And as he was walking past, I said, I just want to say this. I thought you covered it really well with the problem, and it wasn't him. Anyway, I ended up having a really nice chat to him, but it was rather embarrassing, the fact that he looked very similar to the guy who'd been on the stage, and then because then he wanted to know exactly what had happened, and we were having a conversation about the fact that sort of stuff, and we've all been in that situation as musicians. He'd been in there and he said, no, that shouldn't happen, you know, but you do what you can, really, you know. I'm going to let you talk about Jeremy Nicholas, because you had a longer conversation with him than I did, actually, at the end. But,
the next person who actually sort of...
Oh, sorry, just before, sorry to interrupt you, but I didn't say where the tribute to Alanis Morissette is. It's at Symposium at 10 o'clock on a night, all the way through the Fringe. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Jeremy came and had a chat to John Rowe, who was acting as the host. And he has a history. He is ex BBC. And his show is anecdotes and, more importantly, top tips on how to make everyone who hates public speaking to be more entertaining and engaging. And he told a couple of stories which were fun.
It was fantastic, really funny.
And, you know, just very taken by him. So at the drinks aforementioned by Ian, I started chatting to him, and nice guy, and we're really hoping that we can get along to see his show.
We are struggling to get to some shows now because we've been asked by so much, and what I ended up saying to lots of people in this thing today was, you know, we are pretty much booked up, but if I can come and see your show, and we would do, and you know, so we'll see. But we definitely want to try and get to see Jeremy's show, because I think it'd be a really good hour. Actually, I think it'd be very entertaining. He did say one of his stories was that he is the voice of, I don't play computer games, but FIFA football. And he said, if any of you have got children who are really into FIFA football, I'm happy to do your ringtone. And you know, and one girl was very taken with that, I think, wasn't she? You know, which I think was quite a nice little gesture, actually. And he genuinely, the chat we had with him, you had more of a chat with him than me, because I got sidewind. No, anyway, I got caught by other people. But he was a very entertaining chap. Next we had Rust. Oh, and he's on. Have I said that? No,
no, he's on at
Surgeons Hall every night, 8:25 throughout the Fringe. Next we had Rust. Well, now I don't quite know where we've got this from, but we knew something of Rust, and we can't quite remember exactly whether we spoke to somebody who was flyering about the show or what. But anyway, it's I'm reading the bit here. A moving and life-affirming original musical about addiction and mental health services and recovery. Now, we do think it might have been that, because if you've got a mental health background, that it may be you that you came from. Anyway, we're not quite sure. And they did one song and went to an awful lot of effort, because they had a full band there for literally 2.5 minutes, wasn't it? It wasn't very long, really. You know, they did it, and it sounded great, really.
Yeah, 3 singers.
Yeah.
And plus magicians.
Yeah.
But it did sound good. But I mean, the song that they played was great. But obviously it was one song, so we don't know everything else. Yeah, certainly the one that we may possibly try and look at.
And it's just difficult when you have these things where you're having to make a judgment, because there is so much, and there's so many people and so much to see, that you're having to make judgments about whether you go to something or not.
But they're also a good way of a sort of starting point, because if you do like something that you see, even if it's just a sort of comedian and it's 5 minutes, and you think, you laugh a lot at that, or you like that song, or you just like somebody's character, you can then obviously go away, look it up, and
and decide for yourself
decide
as to
where you go and see their full show. Because that's how it works.
And certainly the drinks event after that, people were coming up and they were. I mean, it's a sales pitch, and they were trying to. But we had some good conversations, didn't we?
We did.
And it's quite an interesting sort of thing to look at, because clearly some people, once they know that we're not, people are asking what my publication was. I'm saying I've got a publication. We've got the YouTube thing, and we're doing the Audiophile Radio Show. But we haven't got a publication. Some people would switch off, which was quite interesting. Other people were clearly very interested in just talking to you, and they liked, some of them liked the idea of what we're doing, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Anyway, Rust is on at Niddery Upper at 3:10 every day throughout the Fringe. We next had, I thought this was bizarre, we had something called the Good Scout, which is the winner of the 2018 Broadway Baby Bobby Award. And it's inspired by true events in 1920, when British Boy Scouts played host to cycling parties of Hitler Youth, which sounds.
Well, we had a snippet, and I mean a snippet.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot.
Which involved a lady who obviously ran a beer cellar.
Yes.
A young Hitler,
very young,
a young Mussolini, a young Joseph Chamberlain. Neville Chamberlain. I beg your pardon.
And who was the French leader? I can't remember.
Oh, and who was the French leader?
I can't remember who the French leader was. Anyway, my history's
the French leader.
The French leader.
I'm trying to. Was it?
Anyway,
would it be Clemenceau?
No, I don't know. It's not.
Anyway. The history buffs out there will remember.
Yeah. You can post it below. Comment below if you know who it was.
Weird.
It was very strange.
Weird.
And they did a sort of song thing, didn't they? Oh, did they? Or were they just?
No, they just.
There was music going on, and they were sort of dancing around and moving around. It was a bit bizarre. That's not to say that the show isn't really good, because it's an interesting idea. The fact that
apparently based
on something that really happened,
real events.
So anyway, that is on Surgeon's Grand, which is the room we were in, which is the Grand Hall, which isn't very grand. Every night at 8:20 throughout the Fringe. We next had a chat, which was a discussion with our host John Rowe and a guy called, we haven't got his name.
Oh no, we haven't.
His name's not on the press release. Anyway, the show is called Predictably Irrational. I don't know, what did you think of it?
The guy described himself as being a management consultant.
That's right, a marketing and management consultant. Yeah, that's it. And
was it philosophy or psychology?
I can't quite remember. I have to say I wasn't that impressed, if I'm honest. But
was that awful? We do apologise.
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't got his name there.
No.
We can look it. I'm going to look it up
while
we talk about other things.
Right.
We should tell you his name
at the end. Yeah, I mean, the reason I nothing against, like I say, it's a 2-minute chat. I just got the impression, because he said that part of the show is about helping all of us deal with social media, and that's right, isn't it? Yeah, and he did say that an interesting thing, which I actually, to be fair, already knew, why we don't have straight glasses anymore, because apparently we drink pints of beer. So we're talking about a straight pint glass apparently don't exist anymore. I don't drink pints very often, so it doesn't really affect me. But actually, the reason we have a tapered glass is because we're more likely to drink a pint 12 minutes quicker. 12 minutes quicker, wasn't it? Which is an interesting fact. But and when he said that, I think, it rang a bell with me, and I heard that before. So, but I'm not saying that that's necessary.
No, and I think it's only fair.
Yeah.
Right, I found him.
Okay.
So the show's called Predictably Irrational. The gentleman is Bernard Ross. Mixing stand-up and neuroscience, 5-star author challenges assumptions about just how smart we are. Buying wine to losing weight, food shopping to dating, we overpay, underestimate and procrastinate. Oh, that's right. It was to help us make decisions, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, that's what it was. So, there you go. Bernard Ross.
Anyway, he's on every night, Surgeons Hall, or every afternoon actually, Surgeons Hall at 4:10 throughout the Fringe. So if it sounds like your sort of thing, go and see Bernard. Okay, do you want to do the next one?
The next one was for kids, really. It was called Microbodyssey, and it was a visual theatre, and we had a gentleman that came on sort of dressed in the white overalls, and
like a scientist look.
A sort of a scientist look. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. And he had like a sort of machine, and we all had to shout out 3, 2, 1, and he pressed the green button.
Yeah.
And another guy ran in with a sort of puppet bug thing, which he then took all around the room. He put it on somebody's head. He was quite big because he was this sort of size, and he had legs. And it was so apparently it is aimed at adults as well, but it features puppetry, shadow theatre, and it was an original score. So the music was playing as this guy was running around with this large bug thing. But yeah, so not much more I can say about that.
No, and if you've got kids, and obviously he's for kids as well as adults.
And that's on at Surgeons Hall at 10 o'clock in the morning. Through,
so it's a kids show,
through to 24th.
We then had Space Junk, a Soviet musical, which is a daring trip into the world of overnight stardom for Yuri Gagarin. Now this, I wasn't quite sure what to make of this, if I'm honest.
Well, no, because they had quite a sort of young musicians, but playing sort of keyboards,
another band,
guitar, that kind of thing. And in fact, they brought on a drum kit, smallish.
They did, They had 2 keyboard players, a flute player.
I couldn't see everybody. But,
there was a flute player. Anyway, there was a band. It was a band.
And then obviously an older actor
with a stick.
With the stick came on, and he was obviously the older Yuri Gagarin, and he made some reference to what. You didn't know how your life would be affected when you became famous, and he sort of came on, said something to that effect, and then walked off. And then suddenly, this much younger guy
in a
spacesuit
with a plastic guitar,
blow-up guitar, came on, and they played a song.
He did a David Bowie Space Oddity.
Yeah.
It was Space Oddity, wasn't it? Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was. And they played it really well, but it was just.
But you thought, well. So, are you sending up the music?
Yeah.
Why are you playing a comic guitar?
Yeah.
At that point, and I must confess, what went through my head was, it now looks like one of these sort of sixth form, ideas that somebody's come up with, but there's obviously somebody older, which I assume is the older Gagarin that came on that we saw briefly, because we've got some reference here to Mike Dorey, who is obviously known for a production of Fiddler on the Roof
in Winchester, Theatre Royal Winchester.
So he's obviously got experience of production of
putting a play on,
music stuff.
I mean, it was played well. I mean, it was just.
But it sort of seemed serious, and then it suddenly completely changed because you had this guy running around with his plastic guitar.
And I mean, I don't think we can really judge these shows on the tour on any of these shows to that extent. I mean, like I said, I've already said about making judgments. I mean, clearly we do want to see Jeremy Nicholas. We were drawn to him, and I was drawn to the Alanis Morissette thing. But all of these shows could be brilliant, really. So we have to take what we're saying here with a pinch of salt, really. You know what I mean? So next one was Dream of a King, which is written and performed by Christopher Tarjar. Sorry, apologies, Christopher, if I've just butchered your name. A part-time actor, part-time fishmonger at Morrison's supermarket. Now, that is not a joke. That is his real job, So he's a part-time actor, and he has done a play about the final few hours of Martin Luther King. And I have to say, I thought he was fantastic. Yeah, this is a part-time actor who actually is a professional. I know that he's not earning any money or not enough money to make a living, but he walked on that stage and it was just him on the stage, and he did a short piece, and he had the voice and the look, and I thought he was an actor. He's a full-time professional actor.
And he didn't just speak it. He. There was subtlety.
There was, and,
he said a piece, and you were listening to that, and then suddenly he sort of he obviously didn't change his voice, but he then gave part of what Dr. King had said. It was obviously more of the speech rather than sort of a description. If you can follow what I mean. And so there was so much more sort of resonance to his voice, and you could really hear Dr. King speaking during that part of, again, within the 5 minutes of the time that he had. It was fantastic.
It was great, actually,
you were just absolutely, your eyes were on him.
Yeah.
And it was just him walking out. Fantastic.
So if you fancy that show, Dream of a King, it's at Triple X. Actually, I need to tell you I didn't say where the Space Junk is, but we'll come back to that. So Dream of a King at Triple X Studio, 1:00 every day, throughout the Fringe, apart from it's not there on the 11th of August. And the Space Junk Soviet movie is at Surgeons Hall, 9:10 every evening throughout the Fringe. Only to the 17th of August, so first couple of weeks, isn't it? First 3 weeks. We then got Lorca, A Theatre Beneath the Sea, which...
No, sand.
sorry. It's been a long day. So Lorca, it's not as late as it probably seems, actually. It's only about 10 o'clock, isn't it?
No, but it's been intense.
It's 11:15, we've seen 4 shows.
We haven't had a lot of time in between each event.
So, brain's getting a bit... So, A Theatre Beneath the Sea.
No, sand. I think I'll do this.
You do this one, Jenny.
So, Lorca, A Theatre Beneath the Sand.
Not the sea, then.
And I'm just going to read out what it says here. 2 young drama school students play a surrealist game of poetry and acrobats, exploring the passionate world of the Spanish poet Federico Garcia Lorca, including one of his best and least known plays, The Public. That isn't one that I know. And these 2 guys came on
with a shopping trolley. But that's... Yeah, that was just a prop, really. I mean, they ran around in it, but a bit. Yeah, it wasn't funny. But they were being serious.
But they, there was some dialogue, and then it became a very piece of physical theatre,
acrobatic,
And the one guy, wow, he was bending in half.
He was actually, he was incredible. Yeah.
But they worked together. So at one point he was wrapped around the other guy who carried him around, and so absolutely, incredible to watch. Obviously, the whole thing was taken out of context, so we don't know where it fitted. Yeah. And they sort of, one of them jumped in the trolley at one point, and then they used it almost as a sort of cage in the last sort of bit of image that they did. but looked really, really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, they were Spanish, these two lads. Really, really interesting. So that, no idea what the rest of the show was like that, but there was so much energy. It was fantastic. So, and they are at Surgeons Grand, 4:25 in the afternoon, during August, apart from the 11th.
Mm-hmm. And we just realised, the camera switched itself off because we suddenly realised that we've been talking for half an hour, and we've, as Janie's just said,
we haven't had a cup of tea.
We haven't had a cup of tea. So we're going to finish this. We're going to wrap this up really quite quickly. So the last act on was the Aretha Franklin story, which a tribute to, obviously, the Queen of Soul. Now, I mean, the girl playing Aretha Franklin looked lovely, but I have a bit of a problem of somebody trying to be somebody who's got such a great voice, and there aren't many people, if any people, out there who can really pull off an Aretha Franklin show. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean,
it was performed really well. The song that she did was great. I think it was you that found out she had a much higher register, or seemed to have a much higher register than Aretha Franklin. So that sort of lower smokiness that Aretha Franklin had in her voice wasn't there.
But we know. I know from Ian that, you know, for a singer to come out and just do one song just like that, really difficult.
I mean, I did wonder whether she was warmed up, which might, you know.
But she didn't do anything wrong.
No, she didn't.
Her voice was fantastic.
It was.
It's just, I suppose, you know.
It's just the fact that she was trying to be Aretha Franklin, I think.
Yeah, and that's a hell of a tall order to be.
I mean, it may be that, you know, 2 or 3 songs into the show, she's amazing because she's able to warm up her voice correctly and all of that sort of business. Anyway, she is Cleopatra Higgins, who apparently, according to our host, was in a band in the 90s, was it? Anyway, a band called Cleopatra, who I haven't heard of. Anyway, but and she was also in. So she's got a pedigree, this girl. Seen the West End hit show Thriller Live. Oh yeah, the 90s chart-topping band Cleopatra. Yeah.
And he did say something about The Voice.
Oh yes, apparently she won did she win The Voice or something?
She came second.
Oh no, she didn't win The Voice. Did she come second?
Second. Oh well, anyway,
she was one of the finalists of The Voice. She was on Will I Am's team.
Yes.
We don't watch The Voice, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So the girl can clearly sing. That is not an issue.
No.
You know,
but it's a difficult act.
I think it's a difficult one for anybody really to pull off, unless you're Aretha Franklin.
But we assume that, you know, the show does sort of follow, presumably in a linear form. We don't know the story of Aretha Franklin.
No.
And there will be some fantastic songs.
Yeah. And that is at the Symposium at 10 to 3 in the afternoon through to the end of August. Yeah, and that pretty much rounds up our visit to the Space UK press launch, which was quite fun. We did have, obviously, we had a glass of wine, just one, afterwards, and it did become a bit of a frenzy because everybody and anybody who saw one of these yellow things literally got, and sometimes they didn't want to talk to you because you didn't have one.
When they found out that really he was the one.
It was me, and they were queuing. Weirdly, people were queuing up to sort of say. But the minute I'd say what we were doing, some people lost interest, which is okay. You know, we're not.
So from this, there are a couple of shows that we're hoping to follow up.
Yeah.
And from all the chats afterwards, there are a couple of shows we're hoping to try and fit in.
Yeah.
But we will let you know.
I mean, one of the things we've said to some of the people is that if we, shows that we really fancy going to, and we aren't going to get to all of them, we will do a roundup when we're back up in Yorkshire, and say
down in Yorkshire.
Sorry. Okay, geography is not my thing. I've already said that. History and geography, forget it. When we're back in Yorkshire, back in God's country, I've lost my train of thought now. So when we're back in Yorkshire, we're going to do a roundup of the things that we would have liked to have gone to see, and we'll do one each, really, or a set of things that we would like to have seen, and we'll include that in a video. We're also we'll do our top 10 at the end of it as well. So that's stuff to look forward to. Anyway,
cup of tea.
Enough of this rubbish. Okay, thanks so much for watching. If you like what we do, you know what to do. Okay, and we'll see you in the next video. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.